Hello, everybody. This is Mrs. Richardson, the head of history, and I'm going to just present a short presentation about history GCSE. We always start with this slide with this quote from Sigmund Freud. He was a 19th and early 20th century philosopher and scientist, and he is sometimes known as the father of psychoanalysis. And he says here, only a good for nothing is not interested in his past. What he means really is that, everybody is interested in their own past, their personal past, and the same can be said of the historical past. Your personal past makes you the person that you are today, and your the historical past helps us to understand the here and now and where we are today. So it's one of the key reasons why history is an important subject. So why should you study GCSE history? Now, the biggest piece of advice we're going to give you is you don't have to study history. Do what you enjoy. Okay, you have a limited choice anyway, so choose what you enjoy because it's going to be 2 years of work, high expectations, challenging work, and at times when things may be getting you down or it can feel a bit too hard, if you enjoy a subject, it helps you to keep going and to keep working hard for those 2 years. We often get students say, oh, I'm not interested in the past. It doesn't matter. It's the future that's important. And there's a truth to that, of course. But in actual fact, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. All we know is what's happened before us and what's happening now in the present. And the thing is, all of the humanities subjects are about understanding people and people's impact on this planet of ours. So with history, we're looking at people's impact in the past and how that's helped us to understand where we are, the present, and can help us to unlock the future. I also get students asking me, about history. It's pointless. I don't want to be a history teacher or work in a museum. So, what's the point of taking the subject? And the humanities, none of them are vocational subjects. They're not training you for a particular job, but they are helping you to open the door for the next level of qualification or next experience or college that you're interested in. And employers do think highly of subjects like history, geography, and RS. They're about human beings. So that's always going to be of interest in the world of work. We all have to deal with human beings in all kinds of different jobs. And history specifically, yes, it doesn't train you for a particular type of job, but the skills that you develop in studying history, skills of research, skills of analysis, really questioning why somebody is writing or thinking or saying what they are saying, using lots of different sources of evidence and synthesizing them together into an argument and a coherent answer. These are all skills that are highly valued in lots of different types of careers. Lots of people who study history go to work in industry, or they work in the law, or they work in journalism or politics. It's a subject that engages with the world around us. So what do we actually study at GCSE? Well, year 10, we're going to start with preparation for the final exam that you actually do for GCSE, and that is Weimar and Nazi Germany. The reason that we start with this is because obviously we've already done a little bit of introduction to this in year 9. You all know that the minute you're doing 20th century history and you've been focusing on Germany at the end of World War I and the Treaty of Versailles. So this paper picks up this new Germany. It's called the Weimar Republic, or the period of the Weimar government. And we look at how Germany becomes a democracy at this time. And then how there are lots of different political parties, one of whom is the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or Nazi Party for short, and how that then takes over um, leading Germany, how they get control of Germany. And once they're in control, how Germany changes. What did it mean, for example, if you were a child living in Nazi Germany at that time? How did your life change? So that's the focus for the first element that we do in year 10, the first topic. The exam paper tests all of the assessment objectives. So it's testing you on your written communication, your ability to write extended answers, your knowledge and understanding of the period. And it's also testing you on how you use source material and looking at interpretations, how historians have written about the subject. Here are a few images just to give you an idea of some of the things that we look at. how Germany was changed by the Nazis. We've got pictures, for example, of the first autobahn or motorway up there on the top left hand. Obviously, we've got pictures to do with children because the Nazis focused very strongly on the role of children in society. For the remainder of Year 10, we focus on two separate papers, but they're actually, at the moment, they're sat in the same time slot, although there are changes this year with the GCSE because of the impact of COVID, and they'll actually be sat as two separate examinations. We don't know what's going to happen in subsequent years. We haven't been told that yet, but normally they're sat at the same time slot, but two different papers, and you'll be given both papers. You can choose which one you start with, and you'll be told after 55 minutes to start on the other one. These are two very different topics, but again, they link into what we've been learning about as far as the earlier part of Year 10 is concerned. We focus on what we call a period study, and this is looking at the Cold War and superpower relations. The Cold War is the name given by historians to the period of hostilities between two superpowers that emerged at the end of World War II, America and the Soviet Union. And we'll look at how these hostilities begin, because both of those countries worked together to defeat the Nazis during World War II. So how do the hostilities and tensions arise? And we'll chart throughout the decades, the 50 years of the Cold War, how at times there are tensions and at other times there is kind of the two countries working together, the two superpowers working together. The other paper that you have to study is known as the British Depth Study, and this is focused on Henry VIII and his ministers. So taking us right back to Tudor history, something that you haven't looked at since Year 7. And we focus on Henry VIII and his two ministers, Thomas Cromwell and Thomas Wolsey, and how during his reign, key events change England and change the course that England really ended up following, different to the rest of continental Europe because of the split from the Roman Catholic Church. These images here on this slide show you some images of the Cold War era. So, for example, we'll be looking at that split, as you can see in the map, between the communist East, the countries coloured in red, and the Western democracies coloured in blue. And we'll look at the building of the Berlin Wall, for example, in the 1960s, the Cuban Missile Crisis. That's what that cartoon at the top is showing, where Khrushchev, the leader of the Soviet Union, is arm wrestling Kennedy. They were fighting over whether Russia should put missiles on Cuba. And then you can see a missile being paraded in Moscow's Red Square in the other picture. And then here on this slide, we've got images of Henry in the middle, his wives, the two ministers, Wolsey at the top left hand, and Thomas Cromwell in the bottom right. And one of the key events associated with the religious changes in Henry's reign is the dissolution of the monasteries, and you've got a ruined monastery there. So these two papers, they're totally based on your knowledge and understanding and your factual recall. You'll get asked extended answers, including essay questions, which you'll have to answer for that paper. So that's Year 10. What is it we focus on in Year 11? Well, Year 11, we look at what we call a thematic study. And this is where you're looking at 1,000 years of history, but you're not expected to know everything that happens in that history. You're really focusing in on a theme. And the theme is crime and punishment in Britain from 1000, so the early Middle Ages, right the way up to the present day. And the idea is with this, you're looking at change and continuity. What's changing and what's staying the same as far as crime and punishment is concerned. So, for example, we'll look at how the system of trials hasn't really changed that much since the Middle Ages, but systems of policing have changed quite a bit. They didn't have, for example, a professional police force until 1829. That's when the Metropolitan Police Force is set up, the first professional police force in the world. The death penalty. The death penalty was used as a way to stop people from committing crimes, to deter them. So why is it that in the 1950s we stopped using the death penalty in this country? So we'll be looking at all of those key issues. And you'll notice on the slide here that there's also a study of a historical environment. And this is linked into our crime and punishment work. You're looking at Whitechapel, which is an area of London, in the East End of London. It's an area that's infamous with the Jack the Ripper murders of 1888, but we'll be looking a bit more broadly at that area and what it was like between 1870 and 1900, and in particular the issues and problems that the police faced, the challenges they faced in policing an area of London that was very diverse, very deprived, and where this infamous crime took place. So there's lots and lots of different elements to this course, but this idea of thematic study and using our second order concepts like change and continuity and cause and consequence. And you'll notice there, the last point, we spend the remainder of year 11 focusing on revision and exam preparation. Here are just some images kind of summing up some of the ideas in crime and punishment. So we've got a punishment of the pillory over in the top left-hand corner here, and we've got a map showing the Whitechapel at the time of the Ripper murders, image there of the police and some of the duties that they had to undertake in the 19th century. And then we've got issues of protest and imprisonment. So all of these things we'll be looking at in GCSE history. So this last slide kind of sums up everything that we study at GCSE. You've got 3 examinations, although like I said, that could change to 4, depending on what decisions are made following this year. What we'll do in our lessons in the coming week is we'll do an option talk for the class that you're in, and we'll also try to show you some of the resources that we use at GCSE and answer any questions that you might have and show you some of the exam papers and maybe some of the year 10 and 11 books, so you can get a really clear idea of what's required of you at GCSE history and help you to make a really informed choice. Okay, thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been helpful, and please don't hesitate to email me or come up to the F corridor and see me or one of the other history teachers, so that if you've got any questions or if you've got any queries. Okay, thanks very much. Bye-bye.